The following is a pre-recorded newscast from 10 p.m. tonight.
Live from 12 Studios, this is News 12 at 10.
Another mass shooting. This one happening just hours north of us in Tulsa. What we know tonight.
And another wave of storms rolling through parts of Texoma tonight. Steve's got a look at what you can expect.
And the Oklahoma government overturning the governor's veto. What that means for traffic violation information between the tribes and the state. Good evening. Welcome to News 12 at 10. I'm Stone Grissom.
And I'm Jen Phillips. At least 5 people are dead and an unknown number wounded after yet another mass shooting in the United States.
Yeah, this one just north in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Matt Pieper reports.
A gunman opened fire Wednesday at a medical office building on St. Francis Hospital's campus.
From what we do know, it could be a combination both of employees and visitors.
Investigators described the scene inside as catastrophic. They say the shooter was armed with both a handgun and a rifle and appeared to fire each weapon during the attack. Police say the suspect died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
The officers that did arrive were hearing shots in the building, and that's what directed them to the second floor.
A nurse at St. Francis said gunfire was heard throughout the facility.
It's like, what's going on, with the world these days, It's heartbreaking.
Officers say they were there within 3 minutes and conducted a room-by-room search of the entire hospital campus. Matt Pieper, CBS News.
A local pastor is back in Texoma after being in Uvalde for more than a week to pray with the community after last week's school massacre.
Now, News 12's Kylee Dedmon spoke with him at his church.
Our goal is just to support and encourage and pray for and try to help people deal with their grief.
Pastor Mike Flanagan at First Baptist Church, Whitesboro, heard about the deadly school shooting at Robb Elementary last Tuesday. Hours later, he was on his way to Uvalde.
The role of a chaplain is just a ministry of presence, being there, listening, encouraging, praying, sharing scripture.
Pastor Flanagan visited the memorial site at the school twice during his time there.
They permitted me to go there and be able to, if people needed assistance or needed someone to cry on or to pray with or to cry with, they were able to let me do that.
He says there were 2 memorial sites, one downtown and one at the school.
There were groups there singing, choirs, people preaching, so it was more animated, maybe you would say. The one at the school was very much more reserved and respectful.
People from all over the state came out to pay their respects, as did public figures like Matthew McConaughey, Meghan Markle, and the President and First Lady of the United States.
He and Dr. Biden were there almost all day long, from what I understand. And I know that they spent a lot of time at the location that I was at, consoling families and grieving. So that just, it brought some significance to those families.
He says what hurts him the most is knowing 19 bright futures will never come to be.
To think about the loss of potential of 19 lives of children, not to mention the adults. And it's just amazing what could have been with those families.
Reporting in Whitesboro, Kylee Dedmon, News 12.
Well, let's talk weather now. We do have a few storms scattered around Texoma, but that's not what we're dealing with later tonight.
Yeah. Chief Meteorologist Steve LaNore is here to tell us what we're actually dealing with.
You'll hear some hard rain on the roof, most likely later on tonight, and some torrential rain is possible, again, several hours down the road. Now, right now, we are seeing an increase in some just random moderate showers and thunderstorms, especially if you're watching from Johnston County. You've seen these been picking up around Tishomingo in the last little bit, also just south of Patoka around Tushka. Got some moderate showers there. A few lightning strikes, none of this stuff, anything close to severe right now. There's the big picture for the News 12 viewing area. Again, things overall fairly quiet at the moment. But look up to the north and west where they have had just a pounding of heavy rain and flash flooding on and off all day here to the west of Oklahoma City. And this activity is starting to coalesce into a big blob, I'll call it, of thunderstorms. So there's a small chances of strong wind. The big situation will be the possibility of some very heavy rain. Take a look here on Futurecast, super high res as the activity rolls in later on tonight and tomorrow. We're talking some real torrential rain, folks. So this could affect your run-in tomorrow morning. We're going to talk about how much rain and what's behind this for the rest of the week when I come back.
All right, thank you, Steve. Well, Oklahoma state lawmakers chose to override Governor Kevin Stitt's veto last week. Now the bill that requires traffic violation data to be shared between the state and the tribes is law.
And News 12's Kemper spoke with the chief of the Choctaw Nation and the Speaker of the Oklahoma House.
In February, House Bill 3501 was introduced on the Oklahoma House floor. The bill, requested by the Choctaw Nation, was aimed at increasing transparency between the tribes and the state on traffic violations.
We just want to make sure if somebody, even our tribal members, are doing, drinking and driving, again, that's just an example, and they get convicted in our court system, and we want to take their license away, we want the state of Oklahoma to be able to honor that as well.
The bill passed through the state legislature with 96% approval. But when it reached Governor Stitt's desk, he chose to veto it. He claimed the tribes don't hold people accountable for crimes on the same level that the state does, and said the bill would contribute to that.
Both the House and the Senate examined his veto message and felt like this was a piece of legislation that did need to move forward and become law in the state of Oklahoma.
The two chambers moved quickly, and on the final day of the legislative session successfully overrode the governor's veto by a total vote of 125 to 8.
It's basically about public safety at the end of the day, and making sure that our roads are safe, and making sure people are safe on them.
Governor Stitt has been a vocal critic of the sovereignty that the McGirt decision gives the state's 39 federally recognized tribes. The tribes say this veto override gives them hope that they can work with the state on future legislation.
The more that we can work together with the Native American tribal governments, I think the more synergy we build here in the state of Oklahoma.
It's time to come together. Let's truly work with tribes, with corporations, with anybody that we can, with health care system, to make good things for Oklahoma.
Reporting in Ardmore, Kemper Ball, News 12.
Well, June kicks off the beginning of Reunification Month. That's a push for children in the foster care system to return to their original families. However, the number of children in foster care in Texoma is quickly outpacing the available homes, sending them further away from their biological families. According to the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, in April, 18 of the 80 Grayson County children in foster care stayed in the county. That same month, in Fannin County, 3 of the 21 remained. And in Cook, only 2 out of 23 were placed in a county home.
One school change and they will regress about 6 months. So it really goes a long way when we have to move children out of their home of origin and just their loss of connection to the people who they know.
Grayson County CASA says it needs more foster homes in the area to meet the needs of local children and volunteers to make a difference. Information on signing up can be found on this story. Just go to our homepage, should be yours as well, KXII.com. At construction on Lambert, not quite done yet. A new section of the Sherman Road is getting ready to see additional crews. This time, TxDOT announced that the road will close at the intersection of 1417. That's right near the neighborhood Walmart, if you know the area. According to TxDOT, the closure is part of the original plans to reconstruct 1417, and they say they plan to open a detour for drivers. A Caddo man arrested after court documents say he pointed a shotgun at 2 people. Court documents say 47-year-old Daryl Phillips was a felon and in possession of a 20-gauge shotgun. Then he pointed that at 2 people on Monday. He's also charged with burglary. Documents say he broke into a house on 3rd Street in Caddo that same day.
The Delta County Sheriff's Office says they need help finding a number of items that were taken from the Patterson Museum. Deputies say a revolver, the blade of a sword, a leather bag, bottles, and a silver Kemper High School trophy were all stolen. Those items don't exactly fit in if you see them turn up somewhere. They say they were all donated to the museum by the families of people who've lived in the county. Anyone with information should contact the Delta County Sheriff's Office at the number you see right there on your screen.
Hey, Kansas City man is charged with endangering others while eluding after officers say he led them on a chase at speeds exceeding 100 miles an hour through southern Oklahoma. Court documents say 30-year-old Aaron Fulton, seen right here, led Caddo police on a chase Saturday night. When officers were able to stop him, they say they found an open container of alcohol, marijuana, and drug paraphernalia in the vehicle.
A Hugo man has been found guilty of murder in federal court. 73-year-old Jeffrey Lynn Pierce was charged with first-degree murder in federal court for the death of his wife, Ronnie Pierce, in May of 2020. Court documents say she's a member of the Choctaw Nation. That's why this trial was held in federal court. Pierce told investigators he killed her in self-defense. He claimed his wife had pulled a gun on him during a fight, and that's when he had to stab her. But the medical examiner said Ronnie had more than 60 sharp force injuries all over her body, with 4 stab wounds to her neck. Jurors were allowed to consider other charges and convicted Pierce on a lesser charge of second-degree murder. An Ardmore seaman laid to rest after 8 decades of waiting, the escort that brought him home.
And the almanac for the first day of June running a bit hotter than average. Steve says that changes tomorrow, but for how long? He's got the numbers and the futurecast next.
An Ardmore seaman was brought back home today after 80 years of waiting. Billy Turner served on the USS Oklahoma. His body was unrecognizable after Japanese torpedoes capsized the ship that he was serving on at Pearl Harbor. Turner's family was told he was missing in action until recently, when DNA testing allowed his remains to be identified. David Englehart with the Patriot Guard Riders says it was an honor to escort Turner home.
KIAs are different. We don't do them very often anymore, thank God. It was an honor to be able to do this one. It's been 80 years since he passed away at Pearl Harbor, and it was just such an honor to be able to be a part of it, to bring him back home to Ardmore.
Well, Turner was just 20 years old when he passed. Today, the Chickasaw Honor Guard stood by his side. Others will post guard by him until Saturday, when he will actually be the first soldier laid to rest at the new Ardmore Veterans Cemetery.
The Back the Badge Foundation raising well more than its goals this year. How much it has back to officers in our community.
Got a powerhouse early June cold front easing into Texoma. It's moving slow, but it packs a big punch. Expect a lot of heavy rain to develop as this eases into our region. Now, how much rain are we talking about, and how cool will it get? The numbers when I come back.
We aren't just news. We are 12 Media. This weather segment sponsored by Langford Roofing. Langford Roofing since 1937.
The following is a pre-recorded weathercast from 10 p.m. tonight. The temperatures contained in the recording might not reflect the actual current temperatures.
You're watching News 12 at 10 with Stone Grissom, Jen Phillips, Sports with David Reed. Here's Chief Meteorologist Steve LaNore. Texoma's most watched news.
Listen, most Texomans didn't get any rain today. You may have seen some big towering thunderheads. Now, if you're watching from Durant, you definitely got a couple of doses of heavy rain. There were some showers around Sherman and Denison, and Medill had some rain, but in general, the bigger portion of the area still waiting for the rain. Well, that's coming later on tonight. Here's a live view from Doppler 12. You can see a moderate shower there along Highway 75 north of Caddo, south of Tushka, right over Caney. Had a couple of showers around Tishomingo, a little bit of lightning in those in the last hour, but big picture, just not a whole lot happening right now in our viewing area. That may change here, and I think there's a pretty high chance it will change towards some heavy rain and not expecting much in the way of severe weather. The big concern will be some localized flash flooding and a lot of lightning later on tonight with these thunderstorms that are off to the north and west. Now, it has been just pouring out here across west central Oklahoma for a couple of days. On again, off again, waves of thunderstorms and heavy rain have caused quite a lot of flooding. In fact, over 5 inches of rain in southwestern Oklahoma Oklahoma, and that water is coming down the Red River. Expect to see a big surge of mud coming into Lake Texoma by this weekend with that red dirt country coming on down the river. Elsewhere, though, as this activity up here around Elk City and Oklahoma City and Clinton, Sherman, Oklahoma starts to push to the south, we expect just a big blob of thunderstorms to develop with very heavy rainfall being the main feature with those. And this could happen anywhere from about 3 in the morning till mid-morning Thursday. So, folks, please be aware of the fact that flash flooding can get you in a lot of trouble. Please don't drive through water more than 6 inches deep for a car, or a foot deep for a truck, or water of unknown depth. Never drive through that. That's how you get in trouble. On the flip side, something beautiful I'd like to show you here. Tanglewood time lapse. We're going to stop it at 8:15. The sun says, hey, I'm not done. There's a sunset sponsored by Hunter Supertex on this pretty humid evening for sure. Now, the humidity gives us a clue as to what's going on in the atmosphere. High moisture content allows these storms that do show up to produce heavy rainfall, and that will be the big issue. Not much wind tonight. The wind is starting to turn to the north and northeast now as the front comes in. Now, it's not a real dramatic cool down. 70s ahead of the front and upper 60s behind it, but it is definitely going to be the focal point for some heavy rain later on tonight. And tomorrow you'll notice the difference. Highs today were around 90. Tomorrow about 76, 77, a noticeable cool down. And in fact, tonight it's in the 50s across much of Kansas and northern Oklahoma. That's pretty cool for early June. Big picture, you can see these thunderstorms starting to organize slowly but surely into what I would call a big complex of storms, a blob that'll come our way later on tonight in, say, 3 or 4 hours. And Futurecast Super High Res has had a really good handle on this all day long. Here they come out of the north and northwest with very heavy rainfall. Might be kind of a noisy late night, early morning time frame for you. Most of the activity should be gone by, say, lunchtime tomorrow. And how much rain are we talking about? Now, it's going to be a big variation here. Some of you watching may get a couple inches of rain, maybe even 3 inches. Other spots may get less than an inch. So if you get underneath one of the tracks of those big storms, you could really get some roadway flooding. Please be alert to that, okay? So high chance of rain late tonight, 80%, 65 degrees. And tomorrow, topping out at 78 degrees. So definitely a noticeable change in the temperatures. Now, as we go into the weekend, the rain chance gradually drops out. And guess what? Stone and Jen, the heat comes back, 94 by Monday.
Wow, that's going to be pretty sizzling.
Sizzling, yes.
Yes.
I was going to say the heat is on.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, just ask Glenn by then. Well, back the badge, raising money for officers and their families. We'll tell you how much they got this year.
Television, a staple of the media world for nearly a century. Rooted in technology that began with an idea to share images across radio waves. A platform to share content and tell stories up to hundreds of miles away. Local stations were established and television grew exponentially. We went from analog to digital, SD to HD, single channel to multi-channel. And now we have streaming, on demand, over-the-top devices, and mobile apps to deliver media to viewers anytime, anywhere. KXII TV began broadcasting our signal across Texoma back in 1956. But we aren't just a television station any longer. We are 12 Media. No matter where you call home in Texoma, the weather affects us all. That's why our Weather Authority app is completely customizable to cater to wherever you are. Customize your alerts and locations to make the app yours. We make it easy to follow more than one location so you can keep up with family all across Texoma. Get real-time weather alerts so that you're never surprised by Texoma weather. Search KXII in Google Play or the App Store and download the free app today. For your local weather, Texoma turns to us. Christy Wade and Brian Briggs, weekdays on News 12 at noon.
The 6th annual Texoma Back the Badge Foundation exceeded their goals that they set this year with dozens of donations, 6 sponsors, and their annual golf tournament. The foundation reached over $127,000. This is $35,000 more than last year's fundraiser.
The proceeds from it allow us to be able to reach out to those families and assist them when they're in a dark moment and need some help.
That was Denison Police Chief Mike Gudgel. This year's golf tournament was named in honor of Vincent Castellanos and Ricky Wheeler. The check was presented at the Toyota of Denison with board members and local officers.
And Denison Police are also congratulating Officers Buchanan and Echo after they received the Rookie Dog Team Award during training. A team trained with the United States Police Canine Association. They were certified in narcotics detection and patrol work. Now, trainers say that certification includes agility tests, suspect searches, finding evidence, and catching criminals.
Oh, if you're a criminal in Denison, better run really fast.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Well, Texas A&M coach Jimbo Fisher is speaking at the SEC meetings, and you can bet he was asked about that famous feud with Alabama coach Nick Saban.
Bet he had an answer, too. And two Texoma teams trying to punch their ticket to state, but there's only room for one, David says. Highlights from Game 1. Say it with me, Texoma. In sports.
Now, your award-winning local sports coverage. Here's David Reed.
Gunter and Pottsboro have been two of the most dominant teams in the state this year in high school baseball, but there's only room for one of them in Austin, and today they start a 3-game series to determine which one of them it's gonna be. The Gunter Tigers and Pottsboro Cardinals battling in Game 1 of the regional final. Gunter doesn't take long to get going. Treo Blas shoots one out to left. Mason Sadler scores, and the Tigers are off and running. Then Cade Dodson at the plate sends this ball out into the outfield. Caden Rigsby avoids the tag, slides in safely, and there's another run for Gunter. Then it's Landon Pelfrey with the hit for the Tigers. That brings home Oblas. Dodson comes in as well. A big lead for Gunter in the first inning. Pottsboro looking to climb back into it. Wild pitch here, Jake Kubik, come on down. He takes home plate, slides in there for Pottsboro's first run. Then Cannon Marr on the mound for the Cards, gets the K, but the damage was done. Gunter wins 15-1. Game 2 tomorrow, 1 o'clock in Prosper. The Salina Bobcats take on Spring Hill in Game 1 of the regional finals in 4A. This one did not go the Bobcats' way. 5-2 the final. Salina must now win out to make it to state. Game 2 tomorrow, 7 o'clock at North Forney High. Rangers taking on the Rays tonight at the Globe. Scoreless game early. Sam Huff comes up to the plate for the Rangers, and he just clobbers that one to left. It is up and it is out, and it's 1-0 Texas. Then in the fourth, up comes Nathaniel Lowe, and he delivers a shot. That one is gone, and right now we are tied at 2 as they play in the 10th. Former Cowboys running back Marion Barber has died. The cause unknown, but Barber was found dead inside his Frisco apartment today. Police officers were called to the apartment on a welfare check of the 38-year-old. Barber spent 6 seasons with the Cowboys after being drafted in the 4th round in 2005. He would have turned 39 on June the 10th. All eyes on Jimbo Fisher at the SEC spring meetings today after the Texas A&M coach had the public feud with Bama coach Nick Saban. A lot of harsh words coming from both sides. Saban downplayed things yesterday. Jimbo says he's ready to move on.
We spoke very in the beginning, and he's been what he accused us of. You know, both things. We said it's over with. We're done talking about it and what happens, and we're moving on to the future, what goes on, and try to fix the problems of what we have in college football. We're a lot more pressing needs than our arguments.
So you read anything you said?
No, I mean, things are said, and what he says, what we say. I mean, it moves on. We're moving on to the next thing.
Yeah, so things were said, and I think things are going to be said until they play in October.
Yeah. Oh, man, but what a good game that's going to be.
In October.
I cannot wait for October now. And I can't wait for this weekend, Steve.
And David is a pretty solid forecast there, I do believe. And our forecast for tonight looking pretty stormy now. Not a whole lot happening right now. A few moderate showers you can see moving through Bryan County currently, but there's a huge area of rain developing across western Oklahoma. There's already been a lot of flooding here. That's the big concern I have, folks, would be high rainfall amounts, so we could have some localized flooding in the overnight period into your morning on Thursday. Then things settle down for the weekend, just keeping a pesky small chance of showers in there Friday, Saturday, and the heat is on next week.
Just got through tonight.
Right, we had a beautiful storm. So
yeah.
Really lovely pictures of that.
Yeah, that's going to be really nice this weekend.